Welcome back. This is a crystal clear mind.
I want to say welcome. Thank you very, very much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. It's lovely to have you here.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
So if you could please start just by telling everybody what it is that you do and how you help people, please.
Yeah, so I'm Gemma James, the anxiety mindset coach. I'm a trauma-informed certified coach and EFT practitioner. I work predominantly with women who are feeling overwhelmed, anxious, stressed out, and we work together to help them overcome what it is that's causing them these challenges so that they can live a more calm, confident life and more in control. And I do that through one-to-one coaching. I also have an anxiety support membership called our Serenity Circle, and I do a lot of in-person and online talking, sort of speaking engagements, workshops for both sort of corporate and also small businesses and things like that. So yeah.
No, that's
A wide
absolutely
range.
amazing. Yeah, it's a very wide range, but in all fairness, anxiety in itself is quite a wide range. It goes across the board, and I love the fact that you work with corporate and small businesses where that sort of feeling can really be felt quite a lot. To be fair.
Yeah, do you know, it's been recently as well, more so from a corporate perspective, people getting in touch more to hold workshops for managers to sort of understand the signs of burnout
Yeah.
with their team members. And also, I did one recently where it was learning how to manage stress and overwhelm before it gets to sort of to the point where you end up being off sick and things like that. But the company that actually hired me for their managers, I thought was excellent, and I always wish that I'd worked somewhere like that, because I think often we live in a very much a hustle culture.
Completely.
So the fact that they wanted their managers to kind of be more aware of that and to look out for the signs of, if their sort of team members are heading towards burnout, I thought was excellent.
I think it's kind of necessary in today's world. I mean, it's always been a bit hustle bustle, but right now it just seems to be such an overwhelm of stress on everybody, no matter what lifestyle you live, no matter what your career is, no matter how big or small your career is. And the sheer fact that companies are starting to come to realize that there is no point in burning out your staff. You are far more productive as a person, as a worker, if you are taken care of. It's very necessary. And I would say
Definitely.
you're right. An employee, that must feel like a kindness. Even if it's necessary, it still must feel like someone has really got your back.
Just like they're taking it a bit more seriously, because I mean, definitely in my corporate life, I could never have imagined of being like, oh, I need a mental health day.
No.
Which is becoming it's becoming far more commonplace now, which
Yeah, it is.
is lovely.
It is, and I do just feel that it is necessary. We're not only more aware of our mental health and the issues that can come from it, but stress is just so on the rise. Bad mental health is on the rise. The way that we are trying to cope with that needs to rise with it. And I love exploring all the options of how we can deal with this stress management. What can we do? Because there are so many outlets that are just sort of evolving and getting bigger and more commonplace. No one's really looking at it as woo woo anymore. These
No.
things are just completely normal. Firemen, after they've had a heavy night, meditate now. It's just totally normal to do these things to try and keep ourselves grounded and not so burnt out at the end of it. And it's absolutely wonderful. It really
Yeah,
is.
no,
So
definitely. And it I think just on that as well, it does make such a big difference, because they are taking it more seriously. And I think as well, more people now making the connection between our mental and physical health,
yeah.
and the fact that you're not really good to anyone, are you, if you do end up getting burnt out. And it's I think taken far more seriously.
Well, I had Nicole Child from NC Hypnotherapy on
Hmm.
a couple of episodes back, and she was talking about filling from your cup to fill other people's cups, and she said, what if we just overfilled our own cup so that we had more to give? And I just something you just said just made me think of that. Is you can only give so much before there's nothing left of you to actually give out to the world, whether that's your employer or your family or your work, or your self-employment, whatever it is. There's only so much of you that you can give
Absolutely.
before there's nothing left at all. You really do have to take care of your mental health as
Yeah,
much as
100%.
physical, but also take care of your physical through your mental health.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I totally agree with you. And I think as well, more so, I feel as women as well, we tend to take more of a burden on anyway.
Yeah,
And and even more so on top of that as mums, because we put
completely.
ourselves so far down the bottom of the pile, and we also don't live in a world now where you're so just being a mum. But if you go
No,
back to
know what
sort
you
of
mean.
parents and grandparents, they were homemakers, right? That was their job. Their job was to look after the house, to raise the children. Whereas now we're living in a world where, as women, we are expected to mother like we don't work and work like we don't have kids,
Yeah.
which adds such an extra level of stress onto us when already I feel like biologically we're almost predispositioned to put our kids and others' needs before our own. So it's a real conscious things for, I think, that we have to make that time for ourselves, make that time, as you said there, to fill your own cup first.
And it's so difficult, especially as a mother, to actually find that time, to make that time. I mean, we all say that, if you wanted it badly enough, you can make time for it. And there is some element of truth to that. But I think you're right that when it comes to things like our own self care, our own mental health, we almost deprioritize it. It's not that we
Yeah.
don't want it, it's just that we deprioritize it because it doesn't feel as important as maybe some other things to
No,
us.
but that as well. And if you think, how old are your children now?
Ours is 7, and oh, sorry, no, she's 6. I keep calling her almost 7-year-old at the moment. She's 6, and the other one's 10.
Right. So lovely ages, but it's starting to obviously become a little bit more independent now. But I'm
Yes.
sure when they were smaller, my son's only 3. So it's very much, I do agree with that if you want it enough, you make time for it. But also, if you've got a child that is younger, doesn't quite understand, is still very dependent on you, it's not that simple, is it? You know yourself. And
No,
it's, you can
it's
have
not.
best laid plans. Oh, I'm going to get up in the morning, I'm going to do yoga, or I'm going to meditate. But then if you end up with a night where they don't really sleep, or they get up because they hear you get up, and it's, you don't want to be like, mummy needs her time to herself. It's cute that they want to do yoga with you, or cute that they want to know, but it takes away from the fact that we do still need time to be us,
Oh,
outside of mum, outside of everything else.
absolutely. Absolutely. My daughter loves joining in when I do things
Yeah.
like yoga. And I love it. I watch her and I'm like, that's so inspiring. Go for it. Get some. I love it. But it's so distracting to what
Yeah,
I'm actually doing that I'm not really doing my yoga for my purpose.
literally.
I'm not
I'm
even really stretching
100%.
very well because I'm too busy trying to help her or watch her. And you completely lose the point for yourself, unfortunately.
Absolutely. I the other morning got up early, was in the middle of doing yoga. My son appears and I was doing cat cow. He's like, "Oh, mummy, you doggy?" I was like, "No, mummy's not a doggy, Elliot. Get off me." No, that was it then. He was on me and he wouldn't get off. And sometimes he's very cute and he copies me doing yoga. But I think it's just as well is, I think to some aspects we have to kind of just go with it, don't we? And it's wanting to do things, and we know what's good for us. We know that, eating healthy is good for us and taking time for our mental health is good for us. But it is trying to fit it all in.
Oh,
And
definitely.
sometimes you're just so tired as well, right? We've got all these different things going on, and it's just trying to take the little bits that you can when you can.
I love the fact that now more than ever, people are putting out into the world little bite-size um, episodes or bite-sized meditations, bite-sized guided meditations, which I love. You know, you haven't got 30 minutes spare, but I could do 5 minutes maybe. I could squeeze
Yeah.
that in, and now you can find that and stuff where you don't have to necessarily really think about it either. You know, you can have
Mm.
someone guide you through that. Breathing exercises, most of those only take 3, 4 minutes. They can take longer if you want them to, but
Yeah.
you could just put and focus 3 minutes on it if that's all you've got. And I absolutely love that kind of. We live in that world now where everything's very on demand and we need it smaller and quicker and now.
Yeah.
That even sort of the spirituality, holistic side of life is also becoming equal to that. And I think that that's really necessary as our life evolves in that way.
Yeah. Absolutely. And like you say, it is, and it's so readily available now. Even like you go on like YouTube, you can get like you say, 5 minute meditations, 5 minute breathing exercises, 5 minute yoga sort of videos. There's loads of little things that you can do, and it's and for free. Don't have to pay for it.
Yeah, which you know that's quite a recent change because I remember years and years ago, I suppose in my world, it really was years and years ago, you know, pre-smartphone kind of thing. These
Mm.
things, they cost money. They cost a lot of money. If you were this kind of person and this
Yeah.
is what you were dealing with, or you were going to focus on, or, you know, you wanted to look into and give it a go, you paid a lot of money for this sort of stuff. You know, you paid for the pleasure of such simplicity. And as you said, now it's just so readily available. It's all there for you.
Oh,
You don't have
absolutely.
to. You don't have to spend any money if you don't want to.
No,
You know,
but
it is
even
so
I
free and available.
absolutely. I found some DVDs the other day actually of a yoga DVD, yoga AM, yoga PM.
Oh
I
wow.
had from years and years and years ago. It was like a morning yoga routine and then an evening one. But it was that was it, right? Because that's all you had. There wasn't YouTube and stuff then, and even I think when YouTube did first start, it definitely wasn't
Oh no, it wasn't
the
focused
YouTube that
on
we know now.
no.
But there's so many resources that are available and readily available. Just
And it continues to expand as well. Like I've got, you know, a Fitbit on my arm and the app pinged me yesterday and just turned around and went, new workouts available. So I kind of thought, oh, let's
oh
have a little look and I just tapped it. When they said new workout, then 25 had been added that day and they range from basic yoga for mobility and for balance, all the way up to, you know, I really am going to build some muscle here kind of thing that's well out of my range. That's definitely beyond me. But I was just absolutely astounded, you know, like, oh, new workouts dropped. And it's kind of like, actually, there's 25 you've added today. This is insane. And they're in video format, tells you how many calories you're burning, how much sort of like you time you're giving to yourself, how
wow.
holistic you're being, all sorts of little stats on it as well. It just absolutely blew my mind just how easy they are trying to make it for you. It doesn't necessarily mean it will fit with your lifestyle or
Yeah.
where your mindset's at either, but they are trying definitely and focusing on that kind of mind, body, spirit connection
Mm.
for sure.
No, absolutely. And I think that's that there, as you said, there's far more focus on that now than there probably really has been ever.
Yeah,
People are
no,
taking
I
it a lot more
agree.
seriously, and which is great, really, really great, and so needed.
It is. And we do live in a burnout world. You can just see it as you walk past people in the street.
Yeah,
They look ghosted half the time, especially when they're trudging their way to and from work. You know, it's just exhausting. Life is quite exhausting. And anxiety
absolutely.
is at an all-time worst at the moment. I mean, you know, everybody seems to suffer from it to some extent or another, whether they need medication or whether they can cope with themselves, or whether they haven't even figured it out yet. I just seem to know everybody has it in some capacity or another. It's mad that we should all be feeling this way.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing is as well with that, it's very, very difficult, I think, when you're in a situation where you've come from a perhaps not quite a holistic background and you don't know what alternatives are even available.
Yeah.
The first thing we do when we don't feel well is we go to the doctors. And touching there on medication, the thing is that's what you're offered. And that's and from experience, I mean, I started having issues with my mental health when I was sort of pre-teens, early teens, and I was first put on medication when I was 14,
Wow.
and I was on medication for 14 years actually, until I was 28. I came off medication, and the thing with that is, and it wasn't just one medication in that time. I joke that I think I've been on every single bloody medication that's available. But over the course of that 14-year period, I was on loads of different medications, sometimes multiple medications at the same time, different medications at different times. And for me personally, I didn't like the way that they made me feel. And some of the side effects I got from them actually made the symptoms I was experiencing worse. Some of them gave me intrusive thoughts, some made me suicidal, some made me like all these different side effects that the doctors were always just sort of like, well, let's just try it and we'll see, which is because that's all they've really got. That and CBT. Yeah. That was the other thing I was always offered. So it wasn't until I sort of started taking matters into my own hands in my sort of early to mid 20s, and then I realised there was other things, and I started looking into it. But it's stuff I had to pay for. Had to pay for counselling. I mean, I had counselling with the same therapist for I think 11 years in the end, and then subsequently looking into other sort of more holistic things like breath work and yoga and EFT and all these sort of other healing modalities. Homeopathy was a big one for me, and all these different things which you don't know unless you start really looking, and it's not something that's really obvious, I don't feel.
No, I agree. I really do agree with you there. And
yeah,
this is kind of the point of the podcast, was when I started on my own journey. Man, it took a lot of research, a lot of reading, a lot of in-depth checking and back checking and double checking and looking into things so deep, because my curiosity runs in all areas, so I was doing this in every single avenue possible. I just wanted to create somewhere where people could just find basic information enough that they could then go and look further themselves if it made sense to them, or if it like spoke to them in any way. So, I mean, what made you in your 20s? What made you decide to start taking it into your own hands? Was it actually the medication that made you feel that you wanted to come off of it, or did something else happen?
Yeah, no. So I just always felt that with medication, I was just living life through frosted glass, is the best way I could describe it.
Yeah.
And although I didn't feel really, really depressed or really, really anxious, I also never felt really happy, really excited, really, I felt no extremes of anything. And I had a particularly nasty breakup with an ex-boyfriend, and I said to him about going couples counselling. I think I must have only been 20, 22, I want to say. And he scoffed at the idea. Like, don't be stupid. That's for like people that are married. We were engaged at the time, and we like broke up, which was for the best. But I decided to go and see a counsellor. And the woman I saw, she was awesome. And then I was with her for, like I say, 11 years. And then off the back of that was just, I'm a big believer in, you know, the universe, and you kind of meet the right people at the right time.
Yeah,
And
completely.
just as I continue to awaken to these other, almost this other world I've sort of found myself in, and learning about all these different things kind of fell in my path just at the right time. And then I had, just before I met, so my fiance that I have my son with, just before we met, I was married, and when I broke up with my ex-husband, it was so traumatic. It was like horrendous. He was just awful. I ended up moving to a completely different area. I ended up having to like just completely change everything about my life, and then met my partner. Then we obviously subsequently were together. We had a baby. After I had my son, or during my pregnancy, anxiety for me hit an all-time high.
Yeah.
And then it got to the end of my pregnancy, and I was just like, I just need him to be born, because I was so scared he was going to die. And I was like, once he's born, I won't feel anxious anymore, because I'll be able to see him and I won't need to worry about it.
And then it
And
moved on to
then
something else.
literally, yeah. And then basically what happened is I had PTSD from things that have happened to me in my past. But essentially, long story short, I was finally in a safe place, and my nervous system could finally kind of chill out a bit because
Yeah.
I wasn't in this abusive scenario that I'd found myself in repeatedly since my childhood over the years. And so I'm then in this place of calm. I've got this secure, safe person, and all of that sort of anxiety bubbling up. Your hormones don't help either, do they, when you're pregnant?
No, they don't.
Had my son, and then it just all went to shit, to be perfectly honest. And then, yeah, I hit rock bottom. And it was actually then that I realized that I'd done all this counseling and all this work on myself, unpicking and understanding all the trauma that had occurred. All, you know, I could sit here and talk quite freely about different things that had happened, traumatic events that had happened throughout my life, and I'd analysed them, and I knew it all and I understood it, but still I wasn't progressing. And I realised it was because, although I'd logically and mentally processed that through through counselling, I wasn't moving past it.
Yeah.
And it's like I dealt with all the stuff behind me, but now I needed to kind of release that from my body. I needed to just get rid of it, and I needed to kind of find a way to move forward.
Yeah. Become future focused.
Exactly that, yeah. And that's where I sort of started to get into more holistic things, but stuff like EFT, which I'm a massive advocate for. Well, obviously, because otherwise I wouldn't have trained in it. Breath work as well has been something that's been mad, and the way that's helped me. Homeopathy massively as well. So, but I think the problem that you tend to find is we're not talking like a 5-minute thing here. It's like a healing journey that's been going on for the last 20 years. And it's not something that, I think maybe if I knew the information I have now in my 30s when I was in my 20s, I don't doubt for 1 minute that my life would have been completely different. It needed to happen the way it has, and that's fine. But I think that there's so many of us, so many people, that when they do go to the doctors and they get given these meds and a 6-week course of CBT, and they're thinking afterwards, like, oh my God, why do I still feel so bad? What's wrong with me?
Yeah.
I'm doing all the stuff, I'm taking all the medicine, why am I not getting better? They go back to the doctors, and
so discouraging.
absolutely. But
you feel like you're doing something, there's something really wrong with you, and it's not, it's actually the system that's failing you.
100%. And funnily enough, I was having this conversation with someone the other day, because they had been on medication, and they kept going back and kept getting put on a higher dose. And in the end, they were like, "Oh my God, I actually am like uncurable. I've just got to live with this forever."
Oh God.
But I said to her, I said, "But it's no wonder you felt like that, really, because
Yeah.
it would be the same if you had like tonsillitis and you went to the doctors and they gave you antibiotics, and in 10 days you weren't feeling better. You'd go back and they'd give you a stronger course of antibiotics,
Yeah.
and you would just continue that. And that's kind of that transaction, isn't it, that we've got? But it's
just
not.
such a shame, though. Honestly, to feel that way is just
Yeah.
awful. To feel like there's no end to it.
But there is, isn't there? But I think it's the fact that, as you touched on earlier about the woo woo stuff, it's like when I say to someone about, oh, like breath work or like EFT or I mean, people think I'm a mad crystal lady because I always have like about 8
So I
bracelets
am
on
that
and
crystal
crystals
lady.
in my bra, and literally you and me both. It's like people think that I'm crazy for these things, but actually it's stuff like that. It's like the power of a crystal. Like, I have crystals everywhere.
Absolutely.
And it's stuff like that, I think. But until you perhaps are more aware of those kind of things, and it's like when I started looking into things like chakra healing, like chakra balancing, and all this stuff, and you're like, oh my God, well, no wonder I feel like this, because this is all off. Or actually, oh yeah, that actually really makes sense because of this. But you've got to go into things with an open mind, and also the fact that it's not something that's readily advertised. As you know, you don't go to the doctors and they're like, well, you know, have you thought about a bit of amethyst? Is that, you know, it's not going to happen, is it? Go home, do some yoga, some breathing exercises, tap on your face a bit, and hold an amethyst, and you'll be fine.
Yeah, all will be fine. Call me in the morning.
Yeah, literally, you can't imagine that, could you? But it's but yeah, I think if a more holistic approach was taken, I do think it would make the world a better place.
I think so. And obviously, there is a real need for actual medicine and scientific data. We need those things. We still need doctors and we need the NHS. But there is so much that doesn't necessarily require medication. In fact, medication is just exacerbating it. You're masking
Yeah,
something instead of helping it. As
but
you said, you walked around feeling incredibly numb, like
I
you were through a
did.
bucket blast, you know.
Yeah, I did. The only thing I will say with that though is that when you are in a real, really, really overwhelmed, and there's so much noise going on in your head, the good thing with medication is that it can quieten it down and just give you a
Yeah.
little bit of space to enable you to work through it. And I don't necessarily think that it's, and some people, do you know what, that space is all they need, and they're quite happy to stay on meds.
Yeah.
And good for them if they're
Well,
happy with
absolutely.
that,
If it
and that's for
works for
them.
you, if it
Exactly.
literally does what you need it to, and
Yeah.
you feel better for it, that's amazing.
Exactly that. I think it's more when it's and also, to be honest, 100% NHS has a place. If I was in a car accident or something and my leg was broken, I'm not going to go and see an osteopath or do my breath work.
Exactly.
I'm going to want to see a doctor, right, to fix my leg or put my stomach back in where it needs to go or whatever else. So I think everything has a place. I do think that for more chronic things,
Absolutely.
certainly I think a more holistic approach is in my experience definitely better to be taken. I think that with mental health though, it's not for lack of trying. I really do think that they try, but and I actually had a conversation with our local Mid Essex mental health team. I had a conversation with them not that long ago about it, and about the fact that certainly where I live, they only offer CBT. They don't offer any other form of counselling. And I was just sort of curious and asking about that and what kind of services they offer and this, that, and the other. And the woman was very honest with me. She said it's because with CBT, you can be like, right, it's either like a 6, 8 or 12 week course.
Yeah.
that we give you, and it's got a definite end to it. Whereas with, say, like talking therapy type counselling, it's very open-ended. So you can't be like, oh, we're going to give you 6 sessions. Well, you can, but I mean, you're just about going to be comfortable sharing your name with it by 6 sessions. Exactly. So it's a very, very difficult one, and especially when you're facing situations with, like what I had, like complex PTSD and things like that, it's very much not something that you can go, oh, do you know what? Yeah, Gemma, what you need is 6 sessions of counselling and you'll be fine. It wasn't like that for me. And I just wish that it was more, people were more aware of the alternatives, just because I think then people would feel a little bit less stuck and like, oh my God, like we used to say, like, what's wrong with me? Why does nothing work for me?
Absolutely. I know so many people that have had mental health and physical issues. Again, we're not talking chronic, we're not talking cancer here or a lost limb. You know, we're just talking sort of certain illnesses. And through these holistic paths, whichever works for them, it's so varied that they sort of combine things that work for them. They've tried all sorts of stuff to see where they get to, and have actually come out the other side not only better, but actually that sickness, that illness has dissipated or completely disappeared altogether. Some, like mental health, obviously you have to stay on top of it. You can't, it's not, there's no end game where you just go, oh, that's it, it's gone now, I'm done. Know that you're going to have to stay on top of that. Likewise, with some of the physical illnesses, I know people have managed to get to either reduce or disappear completely. They stay on top of it with whatever it is they've done. I think that information, at the very least, should be given out more to people so they can at least explore their options. For sure. I mean, the medicine is there if you want it, but there are also alternatives. And I mean, that's why they're called alternative therapies, and they do work. You've just got to find what works for you. And as you said earlier, you have to have the open mind that goes with it. Obviously, if this is like your worst nightmare, this is not going to work for you. This is going to be something that just grates you up the wrong way. You do need to have a very open mind with it, but it can work wonders on so many things. I mean, I was thinking earlier about the EFT. I had never heard of it until I met you, and you were speaking at the networking group.
Yes.
So you kept saying it, EFT, EFT. And I thought, I don't know what that is. I wrote it down. I was like, check that later. Google it when you get out. And you in the meeting, didn't you? And you got us to tap our faces. And you asked us before we did it to, in our mind, and if we were brave enough to say it out loud, to say it out loud. 1 to 10, where was our stress, stroke, anxiety level? And at that moment, I was having a shit day. I really was. Everything was just going to absolute hell, and it was driving me up the absolute wall. Considering that meeting started at 9 o'clock in the morning, can you imagine the morning I'd had?
Absolutely.
It started really early. It was awful. And I'd walked in and I was stressed, and I was sort of putting on that brave face that you do where you're sort of smiling, you're thinking nobody can see from the outside that I am absolutely crazed inside my brain and that my anxiety is through the roof and I'm losing my marbles in here and I'm trying to pay attention. And you started tapping your face and said, do that. And my stress was at about 9, I think it was, if I remember rightly, when we started. So I started doing the tapping. And by the time we were done, honestly, I was at a 4. I was just absolutely mind blown by the end of it. The immediate reaction that had was it was astounding, absolutely astounding. So now I'm sort of definitely one for that. When I get really, really strung out, I go back and I do it. I advocate it. It's very powerful and simple. That's what I love about it. It's so simple.
Oh, absolutely. And the thing, obviously, the more you practice it, so the idea behind it being that you're calming yourself down, you're grounding yourself, because you're having to really focus on what you're doing. But with the action of the tapping on the certain points and the saying the statements and things like that, you're also almost retraining your brain. So that definitely from an anxiety perspective, I mean, that tapping that we did when we did that, I think that was sort of about overwhelm, wasn't it? And sort of, allowing ourselves the grace to sort of not take everything on and to sort of delegate where we can and things like that. And it's so powerful when, especially when you use it regularly.
How often would you suggest to someone to use it? Is it just like as and when you need it?
It really depends. So for example, in my membership, we do there's different topics. So I don't know, inner child healing, self-sabotage, overwhelm, all that sort of stuff. You would pick, say, a topic, and then I would always recommend to in there, for example, you get like a meditation, an EFT, and like a workbook. And in it, I would say, try and do, if you can, for a month, say alternate days, meditation one day, EFT the other day. And over the course of that, you kind of build up that practice.
Yeah.
That would be best, especially if you've got a specific topic. So not just like through something like the membership I do, but you can get there's tapping videos you can find on YouTube. There's a free app that you can get called the Tapping Solution, which has tapping stuff on there as well. But the more that you get used to doing it when you're not in that state of panic, then the quicker you'll be able to calm yourself down when you start feeling super anxious.
Yeah.
And also as like a bit of more of a preventative measure. But when you're doing it regularly, apart from the fact that obviously it will calm you down when you're feeling anxious, but also it's, like I said before, it's rewiring that part of your brain so that it doesn't automatically jump to that thought process, it goes to a different one. So for argument's sake, if it was like the overwhelm and stress one that we did for the networking talk I gave there, that was kind of trying to get you to focus on that you don't have to take everything on, and actually it's okay to say, I can't do that right now. I don't actually have the capacity or the bandwidth to take that on, and that's okay. I don't need to sit here and burn myself out and take everything on personally to be a good mum, business owner, employee, whatever it is you are in that moment. And the more you do that, almost the more you're, for want of a better word, drumming those sort of phrases and that kind of new consciousness into your brain. And it's kind of releasing those old sort of limiting beliefs that you might have around that, and instead replacing it with sort of newer beliefs that better suit you and better serve you.
Which is absolutely brilliant. And you use positive affirmations at the same time, don't you?
Yeah, and I mean, the way that EFT generally works is that you have like different rounds of it. So when you're doing it, there'll be different rounds for you to kind of identify the emotions, to kind of acknowledge them, to feel them, to move through them, to let them go, and all that kind of thing when you're doing it more as part of like your sort of healing therapy, if you like. But just in day to day, I mean, if I'm feeling a bit stressed out, overwhelmed, starting to get a bit anxious, I've got certain like favorite points. Mine's like my collarbone, my eyebrow, and karate chop, and I'll just tap them and just be like, I'm okay, I'm safe, everything's going to be okay. Whatever it is that I'm experiencing at that time, I'm calm, it's safe for me to be calm, and just sort of little bits that feel good to me at that time. But when you sort of get to a place where you're used to that as well, your body, or certainly if you're doing it quite regularly,
trained your mind.
Yeah, and then as soon as you start tapping as well, your body's like, oh, it's relax time, we're tapping, lovely. And just sort of kind of relaxes you far more quickly than if you're sort of trying to do it for the first time and trying to be like, right, hang on a minute, where have I got to tap now? And so it's the more you can practice it, the better, basically.
No, I can say as a first time tapper, I found it very effective. It just blew me away, honestly. Like, just that was it. You didn't even do it for very long, did you? A couple of minutes,
You
maybe?
don't have to do it. Yeah, I think
It was
about 10, not 10,
immensely
maybe not even 10
effective.
minutes. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, to anyone that's listening, if you haven't looked into EFT before, I would highly, highly suggest it. As Gemma's saying, it really, honestly, there's a wealth out there of knowledge. There's videos,
Absolutely.
there's articles, you name it, it's all out there for you to find it. Just search for EFT. It's incredible, absolutely incredible technique.
It is amazing, life changing.
Yes, yeah, no, it really, really is. It really is. Well, it's been absolutely fabulous having you on here, and thank you so, so much for chatting with me.
Oh, thank you for having me.
We absolutely love anything to do with, obviously, holism and spirituality anyway, but a lot of my listeners, just like me, struggle with stress and anxiety, overwhelm. As you said earlier, probably actually just most people at the moment just suffer with this in one sense or another. So anything that they can get that's sort of useful information and knowledge, and knowledge is power. Anything to move them further on their journey is absolutely amazing. So we really appreciate you coming on today. It was absolutely lovely chatting to you again, and I will pop all of your details on the episode. So if anybody wants to get in touch with Gemma direct, or join the Serenity Circle. Is it our Serenity Circle or the Serenity
Yes,
Circle?
our
Our
Serenity
Serenity
Circle. Yeah.
Circle. Yeah, if you want to join in on that, or just check her out on Instagram. It's got a fantastic page and loads of useful information and tips there anyway. Other than that, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Oh no, thank you so much for having me.
And you take care, and I hope that we get to chat again soon.
Absolutely. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Gemma.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.